You can't camp in your own backyard right now. In some places, you can't even sleep in your own driveway. And urban camping, or being stealth, the risks we're taking by living in our vehicles are literally wagering our entire freedom. And this isn't hypothetical, this is the law. I never set out to make this a political channel. I wanted to share the beauty, the freedom, and the resilience of van life, the raw and the real parts. But the more I live this way, on the fringes looking in, the more I realize that more laws are quietly being passed that quietly threaten this lifestyle. And honestly, your rights too. And at this point, it's become impossible to ignore what's going on around us. I'm in Idaho right now, and they just passed a law that bans sleeping in your vehicle on public property. And it's on any public property, statewide. And it's not just in Idaho. There's other places where this is happening too. For instance, in Greeley, Colorado, you're only allowed to camp on private property, even with permission, for 7 days a year. 7 days a year, that's a week out of the entire 12 months. On your own property or on a friend's property with permission. That means no backyard sleepovers, no driveway stays when you're helping take care of a sick family member, and no scout troops earning a camping badge. And then San Francisco just passed a law too. You now have to move your RV every 2 hours or risk a fine, unless you were lucky enough to be counted by the city back in May. And that's not even touching the new federal push that allows people who are unhoused or just sleeping in their vehicle to be detained and institutionalized. Listen to me, this isn't just about van life anymore. It's about how local and federal powers are willing to control how we live, where we sleep, and what we even do on our land. And here's the thing, I'm not here to influence you about van life. I'm here to tell the truth about it, because I've seen creators out there romanticizing the out of it, sitting in their Pinterest perfect vans, lying through their teeth, pretending this life is all sunrise coffee and cozy sweaters, just so they can flip their used van for way more than it's worth because they put some fancy build in it after they've run it into the ground. And now they're calling it toxic and trying to de-influence van life after making bank off of their curated fantasy. That pisses me off. Why didn't you talk about it while you were living it, Abby? And you deserve the real spectrum of van life, the highs and the lows. And the truth right now is that this lifestyle is under threat. And it's only the beginning. After they come for nomads, they're gonna come for your private property. If you know of any laws like this where you live, please drop them in the comments. Remember, I'm only one person. I'm juggling content creation, full-time travel in a van, and I'm trying to keep me and my dog safe. But together, we can start paying attention and push back. I'm Bunny. I've been living as a full-time nomad for 12 years now. And lately, it's been getting a lot harder. In just the past few months alone, I've felt the pressure building. I've experienced myself more laws, more harassment, and more fear just for existing in my vehicle. I'm actually in the middle of taking legal action against one of these situations that happened to me recently in this video, after they threatened to arrest me illegally and I caught the whole thing on video. I'm not sharing this for sympathy. I'm sharing it because so many of you are out there feeling this too. This video is about what's really happening to van lifers, to RVers, and even folks just trying to camp in a backyard. If you've been here for a little while, you know I'm not here to sugarcoat it. I'm here to stand with you in the truth. If this hits home, make sure to subscribe and support the channel. It helps more than you know. And if you want to be a part of the deeper conversation, I have a free tier on my Patreon where we're talking about real solutions and ways to push back together. You ready to get into it? Here we go. There are new laws that have come into order that we need to talk about. Idaho Senate Bill 1141. It's a statewide camping and sleeping ban. Here's the summary. Signed into law that goes into effect July 1st, 2025, this bill prohibits all sleeping or camping on public property, including sidewalks, parks, roads, and in vehicles. Here's the thing. At first, this Senate bill was supposed to be in Idaho cities that had a population of 100,000 or more, like Nampa or Boise, and it bans sleeping in tents, cars, RVs, or on the ground. Local jurisdictions cannot opt out. The only exception is for commercial drivers. So what does this mean for van life and everyone else? It means even if your RV is legally parked or you're taking a nap in your vehicle during lunch hour, you could be criminalized. But hold on a minute. There's something that they didn't mention and that didn't get enough coverage. So let's clarify it. The bill applies to all public property across the entire state of Idaho, and it's not limited to cities above 100,000 residents. That misconception came from earlier coverage, and the final bill removed that population threshold. And they didn't tell anyone. Any city or county is prohibited from authorizing public sleeping or camping on roads, sidewalks, parks, and rights-of-way statewide. Now, this law only covers public spaces. It does not apply to private property. So for now, you can relax. Backyard sleepovers and RV driveway stays are not covered by Idaho Senate Bill 1141. But now we have to look at Greeley, Colorado, and their unauthorized camping ordinance, City Code number 18. This passed on June 11th of this year, 2025. It adds to Chapter 16 of Title 14 of the Municipal Code. Camp or camping means using private property for overnight occupancy or to reside or dwell, whether using or erecting a shelter temporarily or otherwise. Including using a vehicle overnight, it does not include daytime napping or picnicking. So what does it cover? What does that mean? Camping on public property, parks, sidewalks, underpasses. Banned. Camping on private residential property, even with permission, is limited to a maximum of 7 days per year, even on someone's own land or driveway. What are the penalties? A $1,000 fine, or even 1 year in jail. Right now, they're focused mainly on educating the public, but obviously citations are the next thing to follow. Then we've got San Francisco with their oversized vehicle parking law. This just passed this July. This is a city ordinance, and they don't have an official bill number listed publicly yet. It's basically restricting RV parking. You have a 2-hour limit citywide. Oversized vehicles, RVs, vans over 22 feet can park only for 2 hours max on any public street. 24/7. No overnight parking allowed. If your RV was counted by the city in May of 2025, you may apply for a 6-month refuge permit, but only if you accept housing help or city services. Then there's the RV buyback program that's part of all this. The city will pay about $175 per foot to take your RV off of your hands. Only if you're on the list from the May count though. So if they didn't count you, you're not in on this. There's limited funds, and it's not for everyone. Let's put this into perspective. Most vans are anywhere from 17 feet to 22 feet, and RVs can be that short and also up to 45 feet. So at least you're going to get, if you were counted in the May count, about $3,000, and at most, $7,000 at $175 per foot. That doesn't exactly give people enough money to pay for rent, get themselves back on their feet, and even pay for some of the fees involved with getting housing. If you're looking at first month, last month, and deposit of moving into an apartment in San Francisco, you're easily looking at over $7,000. That might even be an exaggeration, but if you've seen the cost of housing in San Francisco, you might think twice. And that leaves people without a vehicle to get to and from any job they have. And many of these RVs, especially the older ones, are people's only homes. $3,000 to $7,000 won't even come close to replacing a vehicle or finding stable housing. This kicks in fall of 2025. And there's no clear protections for people who moved into RVs after May of this year. And let's not forget the additional trends around the US. Over 150 anti-homeless laws have passed since the Grants Pass decision, targeting sleeping, sitting, public storage, or loitering. Now, these restrictions disproportionately impact unhoused people and RVers, and even community groups that are using private land temporarily or just occasionally. Again, if there are laws in your area that I didn't get to mention, please drop them in the comments. I'm just one person navigating all of this. I'm grieving my mom, living full-time in a van, and keeping up with content across multiple platforms. So your input really helps us all stay informed. Did you think I was going to forget about the elephant in the room, the executive order that was just passed under our current administration? No. This order directs federal agencies to support states in forcibly removing individuals from public areas. It encourages involuntary mental health or addiction commitment for those deemed a danger or incapable of self-care, effectively criminalizing sleeping outside without a shelter, even when the shelters are full. This executive order replaces or limits the Housing First model in favor of punitive treatment mandates and penal enforcement. I want to give you a little background on this because there's conflicting evidence that, depending on what time frame you're looking up, can skew your results for research, because that's how fast the laws change without us knowing about it. In 2018, Martin versus Boise, the Ninth Circuit made a decision that had protected unhoused people from enforcement when sufficient shelter wasn't available. But in 2024, the Supreme Court made a decision in the city of Grants Pass versus Johnson, which explicitly overruled that, meaning cities can now enforce public camping bans even when no shelters are available, without violating the 8th Amendment's cruel and unusual punishment clause. We have to talk about the legal rights and implications of all this. I'm gonna break this down for you so you get a clearer picture of what this really means. Because come on, we're not just talking about living in a van or camping in a backyard. We are talking about your basic constitutional rights here. And they're being chipped away while nobody's looking. They're going to tell you that these laws are about health and public safety. That's the excuse they always use, isn't it? But what they're really doing is criminalizing poverty, criminalizing alternative living, and now they're creeping into private property. In some places, you can't even legally host your family or have a backyard scout camping trip without facing fines in your own backyard. And some people have been harassed or even ticketed for parking their own RV or van in their own driveway. Is this really public safety, or is it government overreach? These are 4th Amendment violations here. Your right to privacy in your own home, on your own land. When did it become okay for the government to tell you who can sleep on your own property, what kind of vehicle you can own, or whether you can even park it outside of your own house? But it just affects van lifers and people in their RVs. What? No. If you have a guest who wants to sleep in their car after a party, illegal. You want to camp out in the backyard during summer? Illegal. If your mom is dying and you need to stay on her land but in your own space like a van or an RV while taking care of her? Illegal. If you fall on hard times and you need to stay in a friend's driveway while you get on your feet, that could get you cited, or worse, your vehicle towed and your property violated. We are living in a time where cities are redefining what it means to be a criminal. And in some places, it just means you happen to be poor, or different, or inconvenient. And yes, enforcing these kinds of laws on private land does raise all kinds of constitutional red flags. But until someone challenges it hard enough in court and wins, they'll keep pushing it further. Think about it. How are they going to enforce someone camping on your land over 7 days when you have like 100 acres? Are they going to use drones over your private property to make sure you're not breaking the law? Huge red flags. So if you're listening to this and thinking, well, that's not me, you'd better hope it never is. Because rights are like dominoes. If it starts with your neighbor's van or backyard tent, it can end with your ability to live your life without fear of surveillance, fines, or even eviction from your own damn driveway. And if all of this feels invasive already, just wait. Because in some upcoming videos, we're going to be diving into something even bigger and even scarier. The nationwide rollout of the Flock surveillance camera network. This system ties together automatic license plate readers, body cam footage, and cruiser cams, even private security cameras, and funnels it all into one shared network, accessible from coast to coast. That means a cop in New York could track your van in Arizona in real time if they wanted to. And yes, it's already been abused. We've already caught officers using this tech to stalk their exes, harass people, and dig through location data with zero oversight. So if you thought you could just disappear into the wild and be left alone, think again. I wanted to conclude this to be raw, real, and the ugly truth. You know I don't want to sugarcoat some fantasy of activism for all of you. So I'm throwing out performative resistance here, and I want to speak to the reality of power, imbalance, surveillance, and quiet defiance, so you can see the frustration, fear, and truth that people like me are actually living. I want to reiterate that I never wanted this channel to turn political. I really just wanted to share the truth, the freedom, and the joy of van life. I really didn't have any intention of becoming a mouthpiece for legal battles. The reality is that society is cornering us. They're criminalizing not just homelessness, not just nomadic living. They're weaponizing laws to strip away our privacy, our property rights, even our ability to care for sick loved ones in peace. Laws like SB 1141 in Idaho, Greeley's city ordinance, and our current administration's executive order, it's all part of a bigger shift. Yes, they're coming for people living on public land. And yep, they're coming for our driveways, our backyards, our lives. And I get it. it can feel hopeless, like the courts don't care, like nothing we do will matter. But silence guarantees nothing changes. I'm going to encourage you all to do the usual things, and I'll list them in a moment, but I honestly don't know what good they're going to do. So I'm going to encourage something new. First of all, share your stories in the comments. Raising awareness and letting people know that they're not alone in whatever situations they've had to deal with lately regarding these laws is so much more powerful than you can imagine. Support legal challenges where you can. Go join channels like Institute for Justice or the ACLU, even if it's just to stay informed. You can start or support mutual aid networks, land sharing, safe camping zones. We need each other now more than ever. And you can always pressure your local councils before the next laws pass in silence. Because if they're gonna try and make this life illegal, we have to find ways to make it unstoppable. Join my Patreon, even the free tier. It's where we're talking about real solutions and not just venting. Although that's a safe space for it too. We're not just resisting here, we're adapting. Quietly, powerfully, together. We know they've got the money, the courts, the cops, and the surveillance, right? The control, the power. They don't care if we beg nicely. They're going to do whatever the hell they want. And if you think some kind of civil disobedience en masse is going to overthrow something, no. Rest assured, they're prepared to handle every act of violence. They already have the means and the equipment to handle any riot, any protest you could imagine. And talking about this publicly will probably land me on a list if I'm not on one already. Maybe you're on one too. But if they are watching, then watch this. We are done asking. Never mind activism. This is pure survival. Laws? We have a birthright to exist, to stay mobile. And we also have a birthright to stay quiet. It's time to build networks of people who look out for each other. If you're a landowner who gets it, let's connect. Patreon so far is the best place I've found to do that. But I'm always open up to suggestions, so let me know in the comments. We can begin creating agreements and finding loopholes, sharing safe spots with a network of people you trust. I'm going to suggest keeping your head down while building something that they can't track or control. Because if we're going to have any kind of future in this lifestyle, we have to either stop playing their game or get better at it than they are. I am going to keep talking about this. I'm going to keep showing you what's real, but please understand, I am one person and I can't do it alone. We can appear as though we're surrendering quietly while building something better. There's also a podcast that you can listen to in where we're working on a series based on van life solutions. We're giving you alternatives for keeping nomadic living on the road. It's just a little different than what you think it's gonna look like. They might try and push us out, but we're gonna find the loopholes. So tune in to The Knock. We try to put out an episode every week, but it's just the two of us and we're managing a whole bunch of other things, so bear with us as we get into the groove. I will put that link in the caption. It's also right here. Remember, we're still out here and we're still free. And if they want to take that from us, they better come with more than a ordinance.